In the depths of the unknown, where shadows whisper and fear takes form, welcome to Classic Storytime Hub, the place where classic horror and mystery come alive. Tonight, I bring you a reimagined version of The Case of Lady Sannox by Arthur Conan Doyle, retold with a suspenseful narrative style that grips the soul and breathes new life into this haunting tale. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the shadows. The scandalous bond between Douglas Stone and the infamous Lady Sannox was no secret. High society whispered of it in gilded drawing rooms, while the scientific elite, who once hailed him as one of their brightest stars, spoke of it with raised brows. So when the shocking news spread that Lady Sannox had withdrawn from the world forever, vanishing behind the veil of seclusion, curiosity blazed like wildfire. But the true jolt came with the second rumor that the great surgeon himself, the man whose steady hands had defied death, was discovered at dawn by his valet, perched absurdly on the edge of his bed. His face wore a vacant smile, his legs tangled grotesquely in one side of his trousers, and his once mighty intellect reduced to the emptiness of porridge. Even the most jaded souls, long numb to sensation, felt a shiver run through them at the tale. Douglas Stone had been, by every measure, a man destined for greatness. At only 39, he had not yet reached his full power, though already he stood among England's most remarkable figures. Those who knew him best claimed he could have conquered any field: warfare, exploration, law, or engineering. He was a man who dared to imagine what others feared, and to attempt what others only imagined. In surgery, none could rival him. His nerve, his judgment, his uncanny instinct set him apart. Time and again his blade danced at the very edge of mortality, cutting away death itself, yet brushing so close to the spark of life that his assistants turned pale as corpses beside him. Energy, audacity, unshakable confidence, these were his trademarks, and even now does not the echo of his legend still linger in the streets between Marylebone Road and Oxford Street? Douglas Stone's flaws were as grand as his talents, and far more striking. His income, among the highest in London, could never keep pace with the extravagance of his desires. Beneath his brilliance ran a deep current of indulgence. His senses ruled him like tyrants. The taste of rare vintages, the perfume of exotic blooms, the delicate curves of European porcelain, each demanded tribute, and he paid in rivers of gold. Then came Lady Sannox. One glance, one whispered word, and his world ignited. She was the most beautiful woman in London, and to him, the only woman. He, in turn, was among the city's most handsome men, but hardly the only one to her. She craved novelty and welcomed admirers with a smile that promised more than it gave. Perhaps it was this that aged her husband before his time, for though Lord Sannox was but 36, he bore the weary face of 50. The Lord himself was a shadow of a man, quiet, colorless, with thin lips and heavy lids. He preferred the solitude of his garden, tending orchids and chrysanthemums, to the company of men. Once, long ago, he had loved the stage, even renting a London theater where he first met Marion Dawson, the actress who became Lady Sannox. But since their marriage, the theater had lost its charm. He would no longer act, even in private amusements. A watering can and a spade were his chosen companions. And so society wondered, was he blind or merely spineless? Did he know of his wife's affairs and forgive them? Or was he a fool too besotted to see? Drawing rooms buzzed with speculation,
clubs filled with bitter laughter at his expense. Only one man ever spoke in his defense, a quiet soul who recalled seeing Lord Sannox break a wild horse in his university days. That memory alone suggested there might be more steel in the man than the world believed.
When Douglas Stone claimed Lady Sannox openly as his own, all speculation about her husband's ignorance was silenced. Stone was no man for secrecy. Bold, reckless, and defiant, he paraded their affair before society. The scandal spread like wildfire. A learned society struck his name from its list of vice presidents. Two friends begged him to think of his reputation. He cursed them both, and spent 40 guineas on a jeweled bangle for his mistress. Every evening he was at her house. Every afternoon she rode in his carriage. They made no effort to hide what the world already knew. But then came the night that changed everything. It was a bleak winter evening, the wind howling through chimneys and rattling the panes. Rain spattered against the glass, mingling with the steady drip from the eaves. In his study, Douglas Stone sat by the fire, a glass of port glowing red in the lamplight. He lifted it, admiring the ruby depths, the delicate flecks that swirled within. The flames leapt and flickered across his face, broad-jawed, sharp-featured, with eyes that gleamed gray and unblinking. He smiled to himself, basking in triumph. That very day, against the warnings of 6 colleagues, he had performed a daring operation, one so rare that only 2 such cases were on record, and he had succeeded brilliantly. No other surgeon in London would have dared attempt it. He had promised Lady Sannox he would visit her that evening. The clock read 8:30. His hand reached for the bell to summon his carriage when a heavy knock echoed through the house. A moment later came the shuffle of feet in the hall and the sharp slam of a door. The butler entered quietly. "A patient to see you, sir, in the consulting room." Douglas Stone frowned. "About himself?" "No, sir. He wishes you to go out." "It's too late," Stone snapped. "I won't go." "This is his card, sir." The butler presented it on a golden salver, a gift from the wife of a prime minister. Stone read aloud, "Hamil Ali, Smyrna." He raised an eyebrow. "A Turk, I suppose?" "Yes, sir. He looks as though he's come from abroad, and he seems in great distress." Stone sighed irritably. "Tut, tut. I have an engagement. But very well, I'll see him. Show him in, Pym." Moments later, the door swung open. A small, stooped figure shuffled inside. His back was bent. His eyes blinked rapidly with the strain of short sight. His skin was dark, his beard and hair jet black. In one hand he carried a striped turban, in the other a small leather bag. "Good evening," said Stone briskly. "You speak English, I presume?" "Yes, sir. I am from Asia Minor. I speak English when I speak slow." "You wish me to go out, then?" "Yes, sir. I beg you to see my wife." "I could come in the morning," Stone replied impatiently, "but tonight I have an engagement." The man's answer was startling. He loosened the string of the leather bag and spilled a glittering cascade of gold across the table. £100, he said softly, "and it will not take you an hour. A cab waits at the door." Stone's eyes flicked to his watch. An hour would not make him late for Lady Sannox. He had been later before, and the fee? Extraordinary. With creditors pressing him, he could not afford to refuse. He leaned forward. "What is the case?" The man's dark eyes glistened. It is so sad, so very sad. You have not perhaps
heard of the daggers of the Almohades?" "Never," Stone replied.
The butler entered quietly. "A patient to see you, sir, in the consulting room." Douglas Stone frowned. About himself. "No, sir. He wishes you to go out." "It's too late," Stone snapped. "I won't go." "This is his card, sir." The butler presented it on a golden salver, a gift from the wife of a prime minister. Stone read aloud, "Hamil Ali, Smyrna." He raised an eyebrow. "A Turk, I suppose." "Yes, sir. He looks as though he's come from abroad, and he seems in great distress." Stone sighed irritably. "Tut, tut. I have an engagement. But very well, I'll see him. Show him in, Pym." Moments later, the door swung open. A small, stooped figure shuffled inside. His back was bent. His eyes blinked rapidly with the strain of short sight. His skin was dark, his beard and hair jet black. In one hand, he carried a striped turban, in the other, a small leather bag. "Good evening," said Stone briskly. "You speak English, I presume?" "Yes, sir. I am from Asia Minor. I speak English when I speak slow." "You wish me to go out, then?" "Yes, sir. I beg you to see my wife." "I could come in the morning," Stone replied impatiently, "but tonight I have an engagement." The man's answer was startling. He loosened the string of the leather bag and spilled a glittering cascade of gold across the table. £100, he said softly, "and it will not take you an hour. A cab waits at the door." Stone's eyes flicked to his watch. An hour would not make him late for Lady Sannox. He had been later before. And the fee, extraordinary. With creditors pressing him, he could not afford to refuse. He leaned forward. "What is the case?" The man's dark eyes glistened. "Ah, it is so sad. So very sad. You have not, perhaps, heard of the daggers of the Almohades?" "Never," Stone replied. The stranger leaned forward, his voice low and deliberate. "Ah, these are Eastern daggers, ancient and rare. Their hilts curve like stirrups. I am a dealer in curiosities, you see. That is why I came from Smyrna to England. Next week I return home. I have sold many treasures, but one remains, one of these cursed badgers." Douglas Stone tapped his fingers impatiently. "You will remember, sir, that I have an appointment. Kindly confine yourself to the point." "You will see it is necessary," he insisted. "Today my wife fainted in the room where I keep my wares. She fell, her lip struck the dagger of the Almohades." "I see," Stone said, rising briskly. "And you wish me to dress the wound?" The man shook his head. "No, it is worse than that." Stone frowned. "What then?" "These daggers are poisoned." "Poisoned?" "Yes, and there is no man east or west who knows the poison or the cure. But what little is known, I know. My father dealt in such weapons before me. We have seen their work." Stone's voice hardened. "What are the symptoms?" "First, deep sleep. Then, death within 30 hours. "And you say there is no cure. Why then pay me such a fee?" "No drug can cure," he whispered, "but the knife may." Stone narrowed his eyes. "How?" "The poison is slow to take hold. It lingers in the wound for hours." "Then washing might cleanse it." The man shook his head gravely. "No, more than water cleanses a snake bite. It is too subtle, too deadly." Stone's jaw tightened. Then excision of the wound.
The man's voice trembled. If the wound is on the finger, then the finger must be cut away. So my father always said. But think, sir, this wound is on the lip, and she is my wife. It is dreadful. Douglas Stone, hardened by years of grim cases, felt no stir of pity. To him, it was already an interesting problem. He brushed aside the husband's protest with cold impatience. It is that or nothing. Better to lose a lip than a life. The man bowed his head. Yes, you are right. It is kismet. It must be faced. The cab waits. You will come with me and do this thing. Stone opened a drawer, selecting his case of bistouries. He slipped them into his pocket with bandages and lint. Time was pressing. If he wished to see Lady Sannox later, he could not delay. I am ready, he said, pulling on his overcoat. Will you take a glass of wine before braving the cold? The visitor recoiled, hand raised in protest. You forget, I am a Mussulman, a true follower of the Prophet. And tell me, what is that green bottle you place in your pocket? Chloroform, Stone replied. His eyes darkened. That too is forbidden. It is a spirit. We use no such things. Stone stared. What? You would have your wife endure an operation without an anesthetic? She will feel nothing, the man said softly. The deep sleep has already come, the first working of the poison, and I have given her of our Smyrna opium. Come, sir, already an hour is gone. They stepped into the storm. A sheet of rain lashed their faces, and the hall lamp sputtered out with a hiss. Pym, the butler, heaved the heavy door shut against the wind as the two figures groped their way toward the waiting cab, its lantern glowing faintly in the dark. An instant later, the wheels rattled over the stones, carrying them into the night. Is it far? Stone asked. Oh, no. Only a little quiet place, off the Euston Road. Douglas Stone flicked open his repeater watch. The delicate chime told him it was 9:15. He calculated quickly. The distance, the time for a simple operation. He could still reach Lady Sannox by 10. Through the fogged carriage windows, the gas lamps blurred into smears of yellow, broken now and then by the harsher glow of a shop front. Rain hammered the leather roof above, while the wheels hissed and splashed through the flooded streets. Opposite him, the pale headcloth of his companion glimmered faintly in the gloom. Stone busied himself, fingers checking the contents of his pockets, needles, ligatures, safety pins. Everything in order, no time to waste. Yet impatience gnawed at him. He drummed his heel against the floor, eager to be done. At last, the cab slowed and stopped. Stone leapt out instantly, the foreign merchant close at his heels. You can wait, Stone called curtly to the driver. Before him loomed a mean little house in a narrow, sordid street. Stone, who knew London well, cast a swift glance around. Nothing distinctive, just rows of flat, lifeless houses, wet flagstones gleaming under the lamps, and the rush of water gurgling in the gutters. Opposite him, the pale headcloth of his companion glimmered faintly in the gloom. The merchant rapped loudly. As he turned his face toward the light, Stone saw it twisted with anxiety. A bolt scraped back, and the door opened. An elderly woman stood there, shielding a taper's fragile flame with her gnarled hand. Is all well? The merchant demanded breathlessly. She is as you left her, sir. She has not spoken? No, she lies in a deep sleep. The merchant shut the door behind them, and Douglas Stone stepped into a narrow passage. He glanced around, frowning. No mat, no hat rack, no oilcloth. only thick gray dust and heavy cobwebs drooping from the corners. The silence was broken only by his own firm footfalls, echoing harshly as he followed the old woman up the winding stair. No carpets softened the sound. On the second landing, she led him into a bedroom. Here, at least, there was no lack of furniture, though it was a strange, chaotic horde. Turkish cabinets, inlaid tables, coats of chain mail, grotesque pipes, and sinister weapons crowded the floor and corners. A single small lamp flickered on a wall bracket. Stone lifted it down, weaving his way through the clutter until he reached a couch in the corner. There lay a woman, dressed in Turkish fashion, yashmak and veil concealing all but the lower part of her face. A jagged wound zigzagged across her underlip. "You will forgive the yashmak," the merchant murmured. "You know our views about women in the East." But Stone was not thinking of veils or customs. To him, this was no longer a woman, it was a case. He bent low, examining the cut with clinical detachment. "There are no signs of irritation," he said briskly. "We might delay the operation until symptoms develop." The husband wrung his hands, his voice breaking with agitation. "Oh, sir, do not trifle. You do not know. It is deadly. I know. I swear to you, only the knife can save her." Stone straightened, cool and dismissive. "And yet I am inclined to wait." The man's composure snapped. "Enough. Every minute is precious. I cannot stand by and watch my wife sink into death. I thank you for coming, sir, but I will call another surgeon before it is too late." Stone hesitated. To return the £100 was bitter, and if the man was right and the woman died, the coroner's questions would be far worse. "You have seen this poison before?" he asked. "I have." "And you swear an operation is necessary?" "I swear it by all that I hold sacred." Stone's eyes narrowed. "The disfigurement will be frightful." The man's reply was cold, almost cruel. "I can understand. The mouth will not be a pretty one to kiss."
Douglas Stone spun on the man, fury flashing in his eyes. The words had been brutal, but there was no time for argument. With a sharp snap, he drew a bistoury from his case, tested its keen edge against his finger, and brought the lamp closer to the bed. Two dark eyes stared up at him through the slit of the yashmak, wide, glassy, almost all iris, the pupils barely visible. "You've given her a heavy dose of opium," he muttered. "Yes, a good dose." Stone leaned closer. The eyes were dull, lifeless, or so it seemed. Then, as he watched, a faint sparkle flickered within them, and the lips trembled. "She is not entirely unconscious," he said. "Then would it not be wise," the man pressed, "to use the knife while she feels no pain?" The thought had already crossed Stone's mind. Coldly, clinically, he clamped the wounded lip with his forceps. With two swift, decisive cuts, he carved away a broad V-shaped piece. The effect was instant. The woman lurched upright with a hideous, gurgling scream. Her veil tore away, and the face beneath was revealed. A face he knew. Even through the blood, even with the grotesque distortion of the wound, it was a face he knew too well. Lady Sannox. She clawed at her ruined mouth, shrieking, while Stone collapsed onto the foot of the couch, his knife and forceps slipping from his hands. The room spun around him. A tearing sensation ripped behind his ear, and his own face turned ghastly pale. Through the haze, he became dimly aware of movement. The black beard and hair of the Turk lay discarded on the table. And there, leaning against the wall, hand pressed to his side, stood Lord Sannox, watching, silent. his shoulders shaking with soundless laughter. The screams dwindled, fading into a dreadful silence. Lady Sannox's head dropped back onto the pillow, her hand still pressed to the mutilated gap. Douglas Stone sat frozen, motionless, while Lord Sannox chuckled quietly in the shadows.
"It was very necessary for Marion, this operation," Lord Sannox said smoothly. "Not physically, you understand, but morally. Yes, morally." Douglas Stone hunched low, his fingers fumbling with the fringe of the coverlet. His knife slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor, though he still clutched the forceps and something else. "I had long intended to make an example," Lord Sannox said, continued, his voice calm, almost conversational. "Your note of Wednesday, miscarriage. I have it here in my pocketbook. I took some pains in carrying out my idea. The wound, by the way, came from nothing more dangerous than my signet ring." He studied Stone keenly, his hand tightening around the small revolver hidden in his coat pocket. But the once great surgeon only sat there, plucking at the coverlet like a distracted child. "You see," Lord Sannox said softly, "you have kept your appointment after all." And then Douglas Stone began to laugh, a wild, broken laugh that rang through the room, louder and louder still. But Lord Sannox did not laugh. His face hardened, sharpened by something close to fear. He turned and left the room on tiptoe. The old woman waited outside. "Attend to your mistress when she wakes," he told her. Down in the street, the cab stood ready. The driver touched his hat. "John," said Lord Sannox, "you will take the doctor home first. He will need help down the stairs. Tell his butler he was taken ill at a case." "Very good, sir." "Then you may take Lady Sannox home." "And yourself, sir?" "Oh, I shall be away for some months. My address will be the Hotel di Roma, Venice. See that my letters are forwarded, and tell Stevens to exhibit all the purple chrysanthemums next Monday, and wire me the result."
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.